I'm now going to welcome to the stage Laurie Richardson from Google, and I've got a fab microphone for you right here. Yeah, so put your hands together for Google. All right, now, I will say, Google asked me to conduct this fireside chat for their visionary sponsorship remarks. And I said, yeah, because I can sit down. So thank you so much for this opportunity to literally sit down with you. I did print up a list of questions because I'm sort of a paper person. Are you on? Are you good?
I think so. Am I on? Great. Hey,
everybody. We can do this. All right. Well, first of all, thank you so much for your support of TrustCon, as always, and your support of TSPA, a company who does both. Yeah, you could be a supporter and a sponsor. Talk to me later. All right. First of all, I would like to ask you a question that I love to ask everyone, which is, how did you get here? What brought you to Trust and Safety?
Well, first of all, I have to say this is my first experience at TrustCon, though I've sort of watched with enthusiasm over the last couple of years as this has come together. And it is really, truly thrilling. I'm sure everyone is saying this, to see this community of people come together. Hey, Dave. And I know there are so many Googlers out there, and many from the Trust and Safety team, but many of our partners from all around the company. So thank you all for being here as well. This is really cool. So thank you for building it.
Well, thanks for that handoff, because when people tell me, oh, thank you for building it, I say, I didn't, you all built it, and that sounds cheesy, but I mean, the reality is this community has always existed, right, and I sound like such an executive director. I'm like, it's thanks to our sponsors that we can continue to convene people. But it's true, right? Like it's wonderful to have this excuse to be getting together every year, or even sooner if you're coming to the summits.
Yeah. So I will answer your question.
I was about to say, listen, I feel like I asked you a question that you dodged.
Okay.
Yeah, okay.
So path to trust and safety, I also love to ask that question because it is such an incredibly dynamic field. You can take so many different paths here, and in fact, I think what makes the work so interesting is it's lots of different people come from lots of different backgrounds to solve problems, and that's the way to solve hard problems. So my own background is that I am trained as a lawyer. I practiced for several years. I then found myself very curious about seeing bigger problems. I was working with individual clients. I was passionate about that work. I felt like I was helping people, but I was really curious to see sort of a broader scale set of problems and think about how to have impact there. So I went to the Treasury Department, where I was for a few years, started as a lawyer, and ended up becoming chief of staff there. And it's because I had this craving for bringing lots of different groups of people together with different skill sets and backgrounds and solving hard, amorphous problems. So when I came to Silicon Valley in 2017, it was a really super interesting moment for this field and this industry. The internet companies, which had been darlings of politicians in Washington, where I was coming from, the mood had turned. There was a lot of scrutiny on teams like ours, who were all of a sudden being held accountable, not just for protecting individual end users of the products that they were using, but for thinking much more deeply about societal harms and problems. And what a fascinating pivot for a team to be asked to make. And of course, I mean, coming out of this incredible child safety presentation that we just came from with Nick Mick, it's a reminder that we've been thinking about societal problems from the very beginning. And at the same time, that dynamic and that conversation has also evolved. So I came to Google, I did a few different things, but I worked around the edges of trust and safety in my first few years. And I stepped into this role in 2021. It does feel like it's been a long time. Last week I was like, oh, I've been doing this job for 3.5 years, and then I counted again and realized it was only 2.5 years.
Right, you got to do the math because it feels like time expands.
Yes,
you know,
it does.
Yeah.
It does. But it hasn't just been one job. It in and of itself has changed so much, and so every day is new. I feel like it's an incredible set of challenges. I'm incredibly inspired by the people who do this work, and they come from all different backgrounds. I have someone who's like, I'm a single mom of 3 kids, and I was doing ads, but I just wanted to have a different kind of impact, and so I'm doing this now. I have all kinds of stories like that. I was a hacker in a small town in India, and I decided to switch sides and fight for the good guys. I mean, incredible life stories about the people that come together to do this work. So always find it inspiring, always exciting, and and it's always changing.
It's always changing. Thank you for saying so, because one of the questions I do have for you is, yesterday we were talking about just the rule of change in our field, and of course, like, part of what we're here to do is just adapt to change. That's what we got. But what's interesting about the moment we're in now, I think, is, historically we have been, as a field, I think, responding to almost more external threats or external challenges. So it's like, ooh, elections, what are we gonna do? Oh, like, how does this particular type of sextortion work? With the rise of AI, and I think generative AI in particular, the call's coming from inside the house a little, we now have a technology that we're like trying to figure out how to harness and adapt. And I wonder, like, how have your team been thinking about that adaptation, where it's like you can use this, but also there are these challenges with it?
Yeah. As a leader, I'll say that I find this a daunting and really exciting moment, because there's been very few constants for us over the years, because as you just said, Charlotte, the external environment is always changing, and the tools and capabilities that are needed to do this work are also always changing. This is a moment, though, where it's really hard to track anything that is staying constant whatsoever. And our team, which covers products, lots of different kinds of products all across Google, has already been in a state of transformation, just trying to get our foundation with our data, our metrics, our infrastructure, our tooling, our incident response practices, all of those foundational layers that make a really effective trust and safety team. We're continually working to improve there. And now we not only have, I just cannot imagine a more dynamic, let me not say that.
This is real wood, so good news.
Yeah, good, real wood. But yeah, the tools that allow us to do our work are changing. So LLMs are a huge unlock and breakthrough for this work. Large scale pattern recognition, being able to see much faster, much more, and much more effectively lots of different patterns across our platforms. That's one thing that's changing. Another thing is that bad actors can leverage these tools just like good actors can. So the platform defense work that we have are changing. And then at Google, we're launching lots of new and different kinds of products. And so the very nature of the work that we're being asked to do pulls from a lot of the work we've done historically. We have to understand what a product is, what it's about, what it's trying to achieve. We have to think about safety by design. We have to set up effective policy regimes and enforcement regimes. But a lot is different and new too. Yeah. So just covering these new AI launches is challenging us to say, all right, what can I pull from that I've been doing for a really long time? But where do I have to have completely fresh eyes and tackle this as a new problem? So that is a lot to hold all at once by any individual and by any team. And yet I see the teams every single day rising to that challenge. I'm always amazed. I am constantly asking, did we think about, and before I finish the end of my sentence, it's like 5 incredibly smart people are like, yes, we did think about this. And then they show me a huge body of work behind it. So it's a fun moment to be able to see the teams adapt to.
I want to ask, well, listen, here's the thing. Yesterday I was talking about one of the questions that we get asked at TSPA is like, are the robots going to replace all the people? Yeah. And I think unexpectedly for me, we've kind of been put in this position of helping people remember, actually, there's probably a lot of benefits to the robots, and we embrace our robot not our overlords, we're the overlords, it's fine. But I'm wondering, can you talk a little bit about, I hope you can, because what I'm aiming for here is, there are actually a lot of benefits to the field that can be sort of derived from this moment, and I think you're probably exploring some of those benefits. Yeah. Talk to me about, you got a good answer here, like it's going to be pretty good, right?
So I think so.
Great, let's go.
I do. I mean, that was a setup. I don't feel like I really have room, Charlotte, to tell you anything else now.
I have this leading question. Please agree with me.
But I really, truly do believe this is a game-changing moment for us, and it's net positive in the following ways. We can see more, as I just said, and so we can do our jobs a lot better. Coverage expansion is a really big deal. We know that the scale of what we're able to do against the scale of the problem has never matched. Sorry, it just hasn't. And if it did, the work wouldn't be as interesting as it is. But now we're able to gain so much ground when I came to Silicon Valley, this notion of let's 10x this problem, it was a trope, right? Mm-hmm. But we're not just in 10x land anymore. The scale of what we're able to do is going like this. And it's working for problems that we may not think of as super sexy problems, but really matter, like seeing counterfeit goods on Google Shopping. We can actually use LLMs in a much smarter way to be able to detect slight variations in spelling that counterfeiters have been used to block, to break through our safeguards for a really long time. I think the potential in child safety is massive. So just baseline coverage expansion, huge opportunity. I think there's also opportunity, and I think we know this, in helping protect individuals from seeing harmful images. And that matters a lot. We know that as much as we invest in wellness and safe practices and mental health around this field, there's still a really significant consequence to having to see troubling images. And so the more that we can reduce that and have humans doing work that they are best and highest at and put the machines to work for things that they are best at, the better off we're going to be. It's also not a magic wand either.
Thank you for saying so. Say
Yes.
more.
Yes. I do think that there is a bit of expectation, like, okay, here, now you have this tool, go transform everything you do. And what we're finding is what you really have to do, and I think this is true across many different fields, is break down your process steps into parts and understand where you can really have an AI assist and plug that into the right part of the process. There's bigger and more transformational ways of approaching the work. So we traditionally have approached our work in sort of a product by product way. I think that LLMs unlock a big potential in being able to think much more horizontally about harms. And that actually coincides with new regulations in a way that's going to be really helpful. So the DSA requires us to look at specific categories of harms. Using LLMs, we now believe that we're going to be able to look across all of our products and find those harms much more quickly. But we're figuring out how to put that to work. And I don't think it's going to happen. I know it's not going to happen overnight.
It'd be kind of cool if it happened overnight, right?
It would be, and it's not going to. So
Yeah,
we
listen.
don't have to deal with that.
Here comes realism. All right.
Yes.
My last question for you. Yesterday I was talking a lot about the History of Trust and Safety project that we're doing on the foundation side. And something that I think surprised some people is actually how optimistic the folks we interviewed really feel about the field. Because I think it's very easy to be like, oh man, I don't know, it's a bummer out there. And in fact, people are feeling actually very excited about what the future holds for us. What are you all excited about?
This is a great question because my 5-year-old is over there in the front row.
Really?
But I don't want to embarrass her, but
Hey, I'm so glad you're here. This is great. We got to get her a badge. Oh, she's got a badge.
Okay.
If a 5-year-old can do it, folks.
Okay.
Continue.
So why am I hopeful about the future and this work? I hope we haven't been saying this so much that we've lost the power of it, but AI has incredibly transformative potential for really important things. I've shared before that my father has Parkinson's disease, and he's had it for 15 years. And the rate of drug breakthroughs there, while impressive, is not fast enough to help him in the way that I desperately am hoping he'll be helped. I believe that we may see breakthroughs in the next 2 to 3 years that significantly change the course of that disease. And so for me, it feels incredibly personal to be able to make the advances in preventative medicine and in medicine itself that I think AI is unlocking for us. Google DeepMind has done the AlphaFold work that they've done to actually be able to type every single protein in the body to change, to save hundreds of millions of PhD hours. It's very, very powerful. So please look it up if you haven't seen it yet, but it's something that really inspires me as a North Star. Now, what does that mean for our trust and safety work, and why am I optimistic about it? We have a couple of responsibilities. We have to get the little things right because I don't want the public to lose confidence in what this technology can do. We have to get the little things right, and we have to get the big things right too. Right now, we're talking about, what are the right ways to interact with a chatbot, and what are the norms of its behavior, and how should we think about these issues? And in some ways, it can feel sometimes on the less inspiring side of the scale. But I constantly remind myself and my team that figuring out how to invest in explainability, shape and mold behavior of large language models, those are all things that are really, really going to matter for the big problems. So I find this moment exciting because we are shaping technology that is going to shape the world. I find that a massive responsibility, but there's really no other kind of work that I'd like to be doing now as a mom and as a person in this world. So I'm really grateful for the moment we're in.
Well, we are really grateful that you were here today. Thank you so much for taking the time.
Thanks, Charlotte.
And have a great TrustCon.
Thank you.